Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. Cedric here in Antwerp with a brand new brew review. Today we are having a prime example of craft brewing with this barrel-aged mint chocolate Imperial Stout by Wonder Beyond Brewing. Now, with 15 euros per can, this is one of the more expensive beers I've ever bought, and even though I was initially drawn to it by the beautiful artwork that reminded me of my favorite childhood cartoon, being Beest Bos is Bos, if you know, you know. What convinced me to actually buy this can was the idea that this sounds so bad it just has to be good. Now, when looking at this beer and its price tag, I immediately assumed it was American craft, but soon I discovered that Wonder Beyond Brewing is a small British microbrewery from Manchester. And when looking into the brewery, which was pretty hard by the way, I came across this quote from one of the founders. He said, "We launched in December 2017 as a small team with big ambitions to make beers bursting with flavor. Inspired by the outdoors and our love for nature, we began to develop a surreal and exciting world to reflect the flavor of our beers. Hops climb mountains, barrels dwell in caves, and mischievous fruits roam free." Now, as a long-time hiker and rock climber, you could imagine this resonated with me, and as a brewer I was just curious as fuck, so I just had to try one. I bought this one at Station 1280 in Antwerp, so not a sponsor, unfortunately. But this is a cozy place with dozens of exclusive beers, and it's a well-known meeting place for beer geeks, craft lovers, and brewers alike. So if you're visiting Antwerp, take a moment to visit this place. You won't regret it. The beer itself is a barrel-aged mint chocolate Imperial Stout. Quite the mouthful, and I'm not even drinking yet. But it's brewed with malted barley, malted wheat, flaked oats, Hercules hops, peppermint, cocoa nibs, vanilla and yeast, and then aged in a mixture of sherry, bourbon and port casks to balance out the sweetness. When looking at this can, you might understand why I was drawn to it, apart from the fact that I love this lovely green gradient. I really like the animal here. It reminded me of some other breweries and cartoons. And then the flowery circle laced with mint leaves and chocolate pieces, yeah, really appeals. Now, I also like this logo because Wonder Beyond has a very extremely abstract logo which depicts like a mountain and a glass of beer. So yeah, props to that graphic designer. I'm a bit jealous. It is called Ermine. I can imagine that is the name of this cute little fella on the can here. Now, unfortunately, it is a 13.5% ABV, so yowza. But let's have a try. Oof. Pours very thick. It's like motor oil. Oh, look at that foam. Yeah, it's like I spilled some oil when changing my motor oil. Okay, first off, pitch black, not even any light coming through on the bottom there. So we could call this dark. And then looking at the foam, I think this is the darkest foam I have ever had. Oftentimes we are peeking in and we are in doubt between is this beige or dark beige or light brown. This is full on fucking brown. So yeah, let's say this is even a dark brown foam. This has nothing to do with beige anymore. Also a nice head of foam. It has this layer of larger bubbles arriving from the bottom, and then a very thin creamy top layer. So that is in itself beautiful. Oh wow. Actually, one of the reasons that I bought this beer was, apart from the visual appeal and the crazy idea, actually I like mint chocolate. I've always loved after-8 chocolates, those minty after dinner chocolates. And when in Spain, they do have this ice cream variety that makes some people puke, but I kind of like it. It's called Menta Choc, which is mint chocolate. So I've always had this love-hate relationship with the combination of mint and chocolate. I also like to use it in my food pairings. So I was very, very curious. And when putting my nose into this glass, that is the first thing that comes to mind, after-8 chocolates. Initially, the chocolate was stronger because of the malt and the added cocoa nibs, of course. And they do claim that the mint is rather subtle. But now, while opening up, the mint is coming through a bit more in the aroma. Overall, a very nice combination. It does have this aroma of mint and chocolate, like these after-8 chocolates, and cookies. So yeah, it's a bit nice. Oh, that is weird. Whereas the smell was very, very pleasant. The initial taste is, to say the least, interesting. It is very different. First off, slightly sour or acidic. Rather bitter, very thick and creamy. The mint is way more subtle in the flavor than it is in the aroma, which is quite logical. And of course we do taste with our mouth and our nose, so that is a constant cooperation. But they didn't pour in a gallon of chocolate sauce. That is very, very clear. They stay true to the classic brewing process, even though they've introduced modern ingredients, modern techniques. I get a lot of roasty and even slightly burnt flavors, of course from the roasted malts, of course from a bunch of ingredients like the cocoa nibs, which are in itself relatively bitter. A very full mouthfeel as well. But of course using wheat, using oats, and I don't think they use a small amount. And after a few sips, all these flavors come together. That is, of course, because we have to adjust to that flavor palette, and we have stronger and weaker flavors. First off was that bitterness and that acidity, but now everything comes together, and I still get a lot of that bitterness, a lot of that very classic Imperial Stout flavor. The acidity is still there, and that is partly because of the wheat, but also because of the wood aging, of course. A bunch of tannins, and They did claim they used several kinds of barrels to balance out the sweetness, and I think that is a very good idea with this beer, because it's still on the rather sweet side. And you guys know that I don't like my beers too sweet. But this is fairly balanced, and it is a absolute flavor explosion. To balance that out is quite the handful. I wouldn't like to be the guy tasked with balancing out these flavors. So yeah, mad props to that person. I say guy, of course. You know, I don't mean any person. But yeah, wow. It's also relatively boozy. It doesn't taste like 13.5%, but it is very thick. Again, very oily. So I would say caution. And oftentimes these crazy aromas are very volatile, and these don't hold up to the aftertaste. But in this case, we actually get a very well-rounded aftertaste, including a bit of peppermint, including a bit of chocolate. So yeah, a very, very well-rounded, all-inclusive after flavor. It's been a while since I've had one of those. Okay, how to score this? Also not an easy task. I am inclined to give this another 3.5, 3.75. And I'll tell you why. 3.5 because, again, not necessarily my cup of tea. I can imagine this having a 4.25, 4.5 for craft beer lovers and experimentalists. But for me, I wouldn't have this on a regular basis. On the other hand, we must acknowledge the talent and the dedication in brewing beers like these. Although I don't think that they brewed this more than once or twice. I do believe that, but please correct me if I'm wrong. But I do believe that Wonder Beyond Brewing, looking at their website, have a few beers that they produce at a time. You can order them and that is it. They don't have a regular series or day-to-day basic beer menu or a catalog. But in this case, I kind of like what they're doing. So 3.75 to acknowledge the talent and the dedication. Yeah, it's something around that, like 3.5, 3.75. I'm a bit torn. And look at how slowly this creeps down. Actually, to get to 13.5 and this density, I would love to know how many Play-Dohs their basic wort was. Because they would need 27. I think these guys brew at like high density, 35 Play-Doh or something. Jeez. The sheer amount of grains that would be needed to put in this beer. That does explain the price as well. Of course, being UK imported to Belgium, EU, UK is no longer part of the EU, so we would have import taxes and a whole lot of paper mumbo jumbo, but also the sheer grain bill on this beer, wowee! And that is what I mean by dedication. Look at that, it hardly moves. Okay, that all being said, I'm gonna take my time for this one, because of the price and the sheer amount of alcohol in here. But hey, if you guys like this video, leave a comment down below, hit that thumbs up. If you want to support this channel, go to my Patreon page or just share one of my videos. And if you want to see more, subscribe, hit the bell icon, you'll get notified whenever I upload something. If you want to see me in real life, hey, good weather is right around the corner and you can often find me in the Antwerp Brewing Company. Just come and take a tour or have a beer with me. And I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.